What's up everybody, how's it going out there? Today we are going to be roasting a duck. And there's a lot of different recipes out there on the internet. A lot of people have their own way of doing it depending on what culture they come from and stuff. You can get away with something as simple as just salt and pepper, maybe a little paprika or something like that. Sometimes people use Chinese 5-spice, whatever. I'm going to be making it my way. And I'm going to go through here and tell you everything that's in the spices here, okay? Because these are really going to be the only things that I use as far as the spices. Teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of brown sugar, 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground black pepper. This is about 3/4 of a teaspoon of smoked paprika. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of regular paprika. This is 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. This is about 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. This is a teaspoon of thyme. This is about 1/2 teaspoon of marjoram. This is 1/4 teaspoon of mustard seed. This is about 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, ground dried ginger. And this is about 1/2 teaspoon of celery seed. Okay. Now if you don't have a bunch of this stuff and you want to just kind of keep it fairly basic, just stick with the salt, the pepper, and maybe a little paprika. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to put them in a mortar and pestle. If you don't have a mortar and pestle, don't worry about it. You can use a coffee grinder. But I'm just trying to get these all incorporated, break the seeds open and stuff of the mustard. Just basically making a dust. If you want to add some parsley flakes to this, you can. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's really not going to add any flavor or anything to it. These guys right here get cut. Okay, they're going to get washed and they're going to get cut. These guys, they're going to end up being peeled. And the celery as well as the carrots, we want to cut these up into small pieces, something that we can use to stuff inside the bird. This is an onion I was using a couple of days ago. When you have an onion like this and it's starting to kind of wanting to sprout, you can just kind of pull that section out that's green. Okay, everything else is still fine. And right here we've got some garlic. And as far as the garlic goes, I'm not going to even cut this up. That should be enough of the garlic. There's no reason for me to even cut it up, really. Got an orange. What I'm doing is I'm using the vegetable peeler to take the zest off. That's where a lot of the oils are inside the orange. So you'll get a lot of smell and flavor just using the peel. Okay, try to avoid getting a bunch of the pith, because the pith is bitter, because we have our duck here. And this is about 5 pounds, and that's actually about, I guess you could say, average for ducks is about 5 pounds. You can get them much bigger, obviously, much smaller. The cooking time is going to change depending on how big the bird is. So, okay, so we have a neck, we have a duck, and we have something reminiscent of a duck liver that we can use in the gravy if we want to. Okay, now the duck has a tailbone here, and if you want to, you can remove that tailbone. Okay, as for me, I'm going to leave it. Okay, got a rib or something that's right here I'm going to pull out. And now what we want to do is we want to take the stuff that we have cut up and we want to shove it inside here. Okay, get as much as you can inside, especially the things like the onion and the garlic and all that other good stuff. What I want to do is I want to kind of pat dry this thing down a little bit so there's not so much liquid on there. When you end up having a bunch of liquid and stuff like that on a bird when you're roasting it, some of that liquid can kind of come off, and then it starts steaming and boiling really instead of roasting. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some aluminum foil right now and kind of rolling it up kind of like this. Okay. Take this, kind of fold it up to kind of keep everything inside there. Grab the two legs, and then we're going to try to use the aluminum foil as a means to keep these legs together. So this is how I'm doing it. I've wrapped it around that one, I've pulled it, and I wrapped it around this one. It's not as good as butcher's twine, but it'll kind of keep them together. Okay. Now, this other stuff we can end up using a little bit later on in the gravy still, so we don't have to worry about that. And the same thing with this right here. The duck, a duck is very fat. Ducks have a lot of fat in them. That's the whole reason why they can float. And if we don't do something with the skin, the fat's going to stay inside there. It's going to be real greasy. So we can let some of the fat out, as well as making the skin crisper if we end up slicing the skin like this. Okay. That right there is probably going to end up being enough. I just want to make sure that anywhere that there's fat, it has a way to escape. So now that we've got this sliced up here, I can take some of my spice rub and place it up here on top. And just kind of rub that in. And you'll notice that I didn't put any inside the cavity. You can if you want to. But I find that it doesn't really do a whole lot when it's inside the cavity. Now, this is pretty much ready to roll. This is ready to go inside an oven. We're going to put this in 350, 375 degree oven for about an hour. Okay, and then after an hour we're going to baste it, and then we're going to put it back in there for maybe another 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just depending. We have to wait for the temperature to increase. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the celery and stuff here. If you have another onion or whatever, you can throw it in the bottom of your roasting pan. I'm going to be using a casserole dish for mine. And just kind of throw all this stuff inside there. We can even take the liver. We can even take the liver and the neck and throw it inside there. Kind of spread that stuff around a little bit. The whole idea is we're trying to get as much flavor as we can out of this. A little bit of kosher salt. Black brown pepper. And just a touch of olive oil, but not too much, because remember that duck is fat. I'm only putting this in here for the initial. Let's put just a little bit more of the seasoning up here on top, because it's going to end up going into the bottom of the roasting pan, which is actually a casserole dish here. So by taking some aluminum foil, putting it over the bird like this, okay, what's going to end up happening is the heat will get inside there, the moisture will kind of stay, it'll start rendering all that stuff out, getting into the bottom of the pan. And then the bottom of the pan, there's going to be so much flavor in that, but that's where we're going to end up getting our gravy. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw this in the oven. Okay, so it's been in for about an hour, and it smells like it's done already, but I know it isn't. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove the foil that's on here, and you're going to see that a lot of the stuff has been cooked. We have a lot of stuff rendered out. Okay, so now at this point, if you actually wanted to flip it over, you could for like 30 minutes to bake the bottom, so it looks a little bit nicer. But I'm going to stick this right back in into the oven, and 400 degrees now. And the smell of this bird is just through the roof insane. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff here, a lot of flavor on the bottom, a lot of flavor on the inside here. Okay, so I'm going to take this duck out of this fat and juice. The smell inside here is just absolutely crazy right now. So we've got some meat on the neck here. Okay, we also end up having a little bit of the liver that's inside here. We can cut up if we want to. It's not really necessary. What we can do though is take the meat off of the neck here, and then we can put that in the gravy. There's a combination of juice inside here right now, as well as fat. Okay, and it's okay if you get chunks of stuff inside here. Okay, that's just extra flavor. But that right there is more than enough fat for our gravy. Okay, so now we're going to start making our gravy for this. And when I first started trying to learn how to make gravy, I screwed it up so many times because I didn't really understand what I was doing really. But essentially what you want to do, 50% flour, or you can use a type of starch like potato starch or something like that, and then 50% fat. So here's like a teaspoon, a heaping teaspoon as they would say, of flour, and just a little bit more. And quite honestly, that's probably enough right there. And then what you want to do is you basically just want to whisk this. Okay? When you do this, it turns into what's known as a roux. And yeah, there's enough flour in that. What we want to do is we want to take the raw flour flavor out of this. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to let it cook, just like this for a while. And let me turn the heat up on it. So I've got this on about maybe medium heat right now. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. I've got two different types of fresh thyme right here. These are both from my garden, but any twigs or whatever that land in there, we can always take them out later. Thyme is one of those things that sometimes it's a little hard to get off the stem. If you go the opposite direction of how it grows, it comes off a lot easier, but a lot of times the stem will break, and not a whole lot you can do about that. So right here, we'll just kind of go backwards with this. I'm putting a little bit of vegetable. Maybe something like that. That's vegetable broth. And this is what's going to end up being used to give it a little bit more flavor and actually start turning this into a gravy. And like I mentioned before, a little bit of wine wouldn't hurt anything in this. I have the temperature a little low, and that's why it's kind of doing what it's doing right now. If you don't have any vegetable broth or chicken broth or something like that, you could just use water, or you could use milk. That would be another thing, okay? But what we want to do is we want to kind of cook this and let it thicken up. As soon as it starts boiling, that's as thick as it's going to get. During the time that it's in here, if it's thick in the pot, if it's thick in the pan, it's going to be really thick on the plate. So you want it to be a little thinner than you actually want it in the pan, because as it cools, it's going to end up becoming thicker. I can tell right here, this is thick. This is going to be way too thick. You can also throw some butter in here, but I think we have enough fat from the duck. That's really good. I'm going to put a little bit more black pepper in it. Black pepper is one of those things that just always seems to show up in gravies. A little bit more vegetable broth. I can take some of the meat off of this neck and then just throw it inside here. Putting a little bit of dried parsley flakes in there. I was fighting whether I should put rosemary in, so I took just a few leaves of it and cut it up into small pieces. You're going to have to give that a few minutes for it to permeate. And then any juices that escape the duck during the time, like this right here, you can take these and you can pour this inside your gravy. which is what I'm going to do. Let's do a little bit of a bonus with this. We've got a couple of potatoes here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and I'm going to end up putting these in the microwave just for maybe about 4 minutes, okay? Because I want these to be pretty cooked, but not all the way. We're going to finish it off inside the oven. Now what we're going to do with the potatoes when they come out, and you can put a lot more, I'm just going to use a small thing here, okay, is what we're going to do is we are going to be taking, once again, some of that awesome juice from the duck and some of the fat from the duck, and we're going to be putting it inside here. We're going to be putting a little bit of black pepper inside here. A little bit of dried parsley. You can use fresh too. Now you can use garlic powder if you'd like. I'm going to be just using some diced, or I should say minced garlic inside this. Okay. Because this is going to end up being garlic potatoes. For the amount of potatoes that we've got right here, this is going to end up being enough. If you want to put a little extra olive oil in this, you can. That 4 minutes in the microwave is going to end up taking a good 30 minutes to 40 minutes off the cooking time of the potatoes while they're inside the oven. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken those potatoes that I have cut up, and we are going to basically kind of just coat them in everything that's inside here. Break them up. The bigger the pieces there are, the longer it's going to take to cook, and we definitely don't want that because, like I said, the bird is waiting, and when that bird comes out, you don't want to immediately start cutting into it anyway. You want it to rest for about 10 minutes or so. But now this has been coated, we're going to put this inside the oven and we're going to bake it for maybe about 20 minutes. So the potatoes are done. Just give them one more final shake before they come out into the pan. The plate, not the pan. And obviously, the longer you kept them in there, the crispier they would become. But these potatoes actually were something that I just decided to do after I tasted the gravy, because it was so good. I was like, you gotta have potatoes with something like this. A lot of potatoes, but you know that. Then we'll put a little bit of the gravy on the potatoes. Mashed potatoes would be just insane with this. And let's just put a little bit on top here.
Oh my god, it smells so good. Yeah. Ooh. Duck. I haven't had duck in a long time. Ooh, that looks good. Smells good. Mm-hmm. I don't usually eat skin, but I'll try it. This doesn't taste fatty, this part. You know, usually duck is fatty, isn't it?
Most of this fat rendered out, that might be boiling hot, is it?
Oh, the potato?
Yeah.
But it's good. Oh, I like that seasoning you put on there. The gravy's good. You put some more gravy. You should put some more. It's really good. Very good. No, it is good, the gravy. Okay, babe, that's enough. I meant a little more, but not. I don't usually like too much gravy. It is good. Yeah, that gravy's good. That would be good in a chicken pot pie. This part's not fatty.
It's the breast.
Yeah, it's not oily looking. Oh, this is the breast? Oh, 'cause I guess I'm used to
chicken.
Yeah, and it's
turkey.
white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this looks like it would be the dark meat of the duck. Give me the skin. I don't usually like the skin, but
the skin's the only thing that's got the seasoning on it.
yeah, but it's good though. I did eat the piece.
That's part of the breast.
I can't believe this is the breast.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like dark meat.
Well, duck is kind of dark though.
Yeah, I know, but I just it just doesn't taste like the breast because usually it's dry and you know what I mean. See, it's not. Ooh, I just made a noise. See, it's not. Yeah, it's not dry at all. It's like it's like the chicken thigh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like.
Well, yeah, that's where all the fat is
yeah,
on the
I
chicken,
know.
is the thighs. Well, it's because
the meat,
the
it's
different
the texture
muscles.
of the meat, yeah.
Because ducks can fly,
Right.
and then so their breasts are going to be more like a thigh.
Yeah.
And they don't really use their legs as much because they're either flying or they're floating, right?
Yeah.
So the only time they use their legs is
true.
to paddle.
Yeah.
So the leg is going to be more like the white meat, I think.
Oh my god, that is so good.
What, the gravy?
Whew, no, all of it.
Oh.
I'm so full, I'm still eating. It tastes good. I feel like I ate something healthy actually. I didn't think, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, I think the only time I've had duck was at a
Like a candy?
Obviously-
Like a Peking duck or an orange?
yeah, I was at a Chinese restaurant, and usually it's oily, and it has they all taste the same, the flavor. I don't know how to explain it. It's like,
Well, they're always using the same seasoning.
yeah,
And they're cooking it the same.
and they don't really put anything on top of it, but it's still good. But I just can't eat a whole lot of it. It's weird.
Anyway, guys, that's that. And if you want to see more recipes like this, many of them even better, go check out my website, Dr. Chill's Kitchen. The link is inside the description. And until next time, talk to you later.